Hello everybody, welcome back to part 3 of my great guitar build-off project. So far, part 1, we went through the design and some unboxing of the parts I'm going to be using. Part 2, I built the body, and now part 3, the most daunting task I have is the neck. I've never built a guitar neck before, and I'm sure this is going to be a very slow process, and I'm probably going to make 1 or 2 mistakes. In order to minimize those mistakes, I went ahead and bought a pre-slotted fingerboard to use. It was rosewood, but I'm testing out ebonizing it with some ebony stain. It looks really nice. I'm going to have to redo this once it's all trimmed down in radius, but for a test run, it looks good. So I think it's going to look real nice on the neck. Last episode I mentioned that I had made some mistakes and that I think it was because I was rushing, and also the filming process added another element that I had to think about, and I'm an amateur at this, like, let's be real. So for this episode, I'm probably not going to talk a lot. I'll try and film as much of the process as I can, but I'm really going to be focused on just getting everything on the neck right. Like the guitar, if the neck isn't right, the whole build is chalked. So a body is a little bit different. Anybody can build a body. You know, I just ran the template through over my router table, and boom, I had a body. This is a little bit more intensive, a little bit more where the craftsmanship comes into play, and I'm still not at the level I aspire to be at for this, you know, especially considering this is my first actual neck build. So I'm expecting lots of mistakes, or at least lots of trial and error. So I'm going to take my time, take this slow. So if I'm not talking that much, it's because my brain is working overdrive just to get the neck right. Let's get right down to it. I already have the neck blank prepared. I did that off camera, and I already marked it up to route out the truss rod slot. So we're gonna go over to my other workbench and get down to business. So as you can see, I already have my blank, and I have it set up to route the truss rod channel. I have my center line marked, I have my nut line marked, and I have these wooden stops that I put on with the masking tape and super glue trick, and that is just so I don't over route the channel. So wish me luck. So that is the truss rod channel routed and ready to go. I did have a little bit of a mishap right here, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So the next step is to get this, get a wing jointed on here for the end of the headstock. So I will go over and use my trusty jointing jig on the table saw to get that done. I skipped filming the jointing process. I'm sure you've all seen somebody joint a couple boards before, so it's all good to go. Everything lines up. So I'm just going to glue this up, let it dry, and then we can start shaping the neck. So I'm going to take the fretboard and the fretboard template and start getting the fretboard to shape. Okay, so I cut the fretboard out. Unfortunately, there's like a couple little nicks where I went too far with the bandsaw. I think it's salvageable though, so I'm gonna leave it for now and worry about it when it's on the neck, and I can kind of blend the nicks together. I don't think it'll make unless you're like looking for it, I don't think you'll be able to see it. So I think I can move forward. So I'm just gonna stain the sides again to match the ebony stain that's on the top. I'll have to do this again once it's radius, but I want to do this now before I put it on the neck so that there's less chance of getting stain on the neck when I have to stain the top. There we go. I might have to do some touch-ups, but I wanted to do that now just to make things a little bit easier for me once I have the fretboard on the neck. Okay, the wing for the tip of the headstock is glued on. That's ready to go. I am going to now take this over to the bandsaw and cut the shape of the neck. So that is the neck rough cut on the bandsaw. So now I can take my template and attach it and take it over to the router. So I've got the neck shaped on the router, just a little bit of sanding left to do on it. Before I do the neck profile though, I'm going to put the truss rod in and glue the fretboard. Nut line looks good, everything looks centered. So yeah, I think we can glue this up. That is the fretboard glued on. I think it is straight. I hope it is straight. It looks good. So I'll let that dry and then we can continue with the neck profile afterwards. I decided to do it this way just so I would have a easy surface to work on. Like I know there's a few ways to do it, but I figured getting the fretboard glued and fretted while the neck was still in a block shape and square would be easier for me. There is a risk because if I mess up something on the fretboard now, there's really no turning back, or at least no easy solution to that. So I will see you when this is dry. Okay, I lied. You're gonna see me before the fretboard dries because I want to test this inlay powder I got from Crimson Guitars for the inlay. So I'm gonna try it with some epoxy and I'm gonna try it with some super glue and just see how it looks on the walnut. So that's the epoxy. That's the super glue. Those two on the left, or my left. So it looks like you get better color with the epoxy, and it kind of gives like a little flaking effect in the super glue. I'll leave that for a little bit, and we'll see how they look when they're dried. Well, I let the fretboard glue up overnight, so it's good to go. I looked at my tests of the inlay dots, and the super glue dried really weird, and the powder, or the inlay powder didn't really play well with it. So I'm gonna go with the epoxy. The epoxy looks real nice. So the next steps now for the neck are for me to take it over to the drill press, drill out the dots for the inlays, and then epoxy those holes with the epoxy and brass inlay powder. And then once that's done, I can radius the fretboard, put in the frets, and then after that it'll be on to doing the neck profile and the headstock, and then I can inch ever closer towards my first test fit of everything. So let's get down to business. What is up, everybody? I just thought I would chime in here for a second, let you know a couple of things going on with the build. I actually had to redo this fret job. You might be able to see it a little bit, but my fret bending jig didn't really do the greatest job, and I think that led to the frets not being seated properly. So I actually took these out like almost immediately after recording this, Also, you might see here I am having trouble with one of the fret slots. That is because when I was putting the slots back in with my fretting saw after radiusing, I accidentally made that one a little bit too wide. So that is something I had to go back and fix, and I did that off camera. That is where I'm going to leave this week's video. We've gotten a lot done, but we still have a long ways to go. I have the neck shaped, I have the fretboard on, I have the frets in. We still need to shape the profile and put a angle on the headstock. Thinking about it now, some things I probably should have done differently. I should have done the headstock angle before I shaped it, and I should have put in my truss rod access at the same time. Not the end of the world, so that's what I'll start with next week. And after that, we can get the neck glued into the body, and then we can move on to the finishing process and really get into the home stretch of this build. If you guys are enjoying these videos, if you like seeing me bumble through this whole process, struggle, and slowly lose my mind, hit the subscribe button below and keep up to date with the project. I will be back next week with another video working on the neck. Until then, have a good one. I'll see you then.